Yeah. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay. So, there's no charge. We're just talking about it today. We're just talking about.
Oh, that reminds me of that. That reminds me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anybody does, I need to change it on my link tree to where you can donate to the Spiritual Gift School instead of to us, like, personally. So I'm gonna do that right now.
Oh yeah, I have mine open too, live with Brittany and Ray. Okay, if you glean anything from this and you want to donate, we're using the proceeds that we fundraise for to open our Spiritual Gift School. So we'll have that open soon, where we're going to be teaching people about all these fun things. So feel free to donate as well. There's a link in Ray's bio and my bio. Last time we talked, I told you my brother just passed. I had a vision of a monarch butterfly when I meditated. Oh, that's beautiful. Butterflies are also very representative of transformation. Yes. And so that might be like your transformation, like connecting in further with him as well. All right.
All right, Brittany, so how do we want to start? Like, so what I have prepared for today is kind of just talk about, like, my experience and how it just started spontaneously happening for me to connect with my loved ones, how to pay attention to that, things like that. But do you have any, like, points that, because I know you're more of, like, a note and, like,
I am a note person.
bullet point person. Me, I'm just like, oh yeah, you know, this is how it happened, this is what I do to facilitate that kind of thing. So let's start with some of your notes and we'll go off of that first.
Okay, so I figured you and I could probably talk about our experiences with, like, talking about our past loved ones, like with your dad or my grandparents, and like what our experiences have been, and then we could talk about how to coordinate signs with your guides or past loved ones to let them know that you're around. I've got different guides that you can call on to help you amplify that communication. We could talk about how clairs also help you, like that's how you're interpreting them talking to you. And I have some crystals to talk about as well if you want to do that.
Nice. I knew you'd have like a ton of stuff. Like, I got do it. Nice.
Do you want to talk about your experience with your dad, or I can talk about mine with my grandparents, or if that's something you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I can start off. I'll start off talking about my grandfather. So the reason I even realized I was psychic, obviously I had signs and symbols before my grandfather passed back in like 2011. However, I didn't know what they were, because as a psychic, and I believe everybody on here that probably has like some kind of psychic abilities, that's what I just believe as humans. We have different senses that we're not told to tune into or not aware of how to. So I feel like that's why we want to create the Spiritual Gift School, to get people more in touch with that. But when my grandfather passed away, I was super connected to him, very sad that he passed. And I started watching like the Long Island Medium, and it wasn't until I had started to really look at stuff like that that I even could believe that my grandfather could be talking to me. So one thing that I would say, and I've told multiple people this when they're trying to connect with a loved one, I was like, don't expect them to just be standing there in the room, you know, or don't expect to like just hear their voice in the way they used to talk. What I started doing was just like, hey, you know, grandpa, like at first you have to believe that they can be there. So that's step one, is opening yourself up to that connection. And then step two for me was asking my grandfather, hey, if you're here, send me a sign. Hey, Gabby. Or hey, you know, Papa, if you're here, can you just tell me something? And so one time I was just crying because he wasn't there. And then I just like literally, it sounded like my thoughts, but very like gut feeling kind of feeling. I just heard, stop crying for me. I'm not gone. It was something like that. And just very clear, very peaceful. And so I would say step one is just like believing they're around, which we're in good company. I think if anybody's on this live, they're open to that connection, which is honestly the first and hardest step for most people, is to believe that it's real and that they're around, which opens up that extra perception. So that was my first experience with talking to a loved one intentionally that I crossed over. It's easy to brush it off early on when you're not open to it and not aware that it's happening. Brush it off as your like imagination and stuff. But when you're open to it, you start to think, oh, well, maybe it's not. And maybe I have been hearing this for a long time. And so
that's beautiful. So with my grandparents raised me as my parents. And so I didn't have as strong as connection. Like my grandfather passed away like very many years ago. Well, not super many, but like 6 or 7 years ago. And I didn't have that same type of connection because he was a pastor. And so there was like a lot of like religious, like constructual things around like psychic work not being, you know, like the thing to do, right? And so I think that I had some type of blockage in between him. I didn't want to speak with him with something that I'm doing that he wasn't a believer of, if that makes sense. So I didn't have that strong like connection cord. Then I started getting more into like spirit guides, and I realized along my journey that people who have passed on to the other side, especially if that's something that you're dealing with, like a parent or whomever, they don't have that same type of reasoning when they pass on to the other side. Like they're very much further beyond this human-scape experience. They're not holding judgment against you. Like they're coming from an unconditional loving space, and they're there for you to love and support you. And when I realized that is when I could start hearing him. And when he started coming through, and I started getting signs and synchronicities. And then my grandmother passed on as well. And same thing. Like she was very much in that space, but like I was like, oh, they're not living from that anymore. And so I started connecting with them. I get signs, synchronicities, all these beautiful things. And you can sometimes predict too, like if you're very tapped in like that, when somebody is about to pass as well. Like sometimes you get an intuitive like hit. So like my Meemaw, who was my grandfather's first wife, who I was around a lot as a child, I loved her very much. So she was very sick, and just from older age, and she was about to pass, and I felt her pass that morning. And then my aunt told me later that day, and it's because of that connection. And it's like her coming in and saying like, hey, I'm making my way out, I want to say my goodbyes to you. And they're always still around, like they're always around, but sometimes they will come to you right beforehand to let you know that they're making their exit from this plane. And so I know that has been an experience a lot of people have had. Like they knew right beforehand. But it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going anywhere. Like they might be reincarnating in whatever life that they have, but they're still there for you as a guide in that capacity. But they love you. They're coming from that very unconditional space.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because talking about knowing someone's passing. So my grandfather we just had a feeling it was going to happen very soon. And I was studying at the kitchen table, and he was like passing, and they set him up in the living room of his home on hospice, things like that. And I was in the kitchen. I could see him from where I was studying. And my sister, it was so strange. My sister, who he was like the closest to, went to take a shower, and she was like sitting by his bedside the whole time, wouldn't leave him. And then I heard her say, I'm going to go take a shower and I'll be right back. And something in me knew he's going to go. And something in me knew he's going to go. He's going to go as she's in the shower. And I was studying, like I said, and I could see him from the kitchen table, and his breath was taking longer. And I just decided to count. I would count between breaths to see how long it was going to be. And I probably counted maybe for 5 minutes. Could have been, I would count one breath. It would take him 1 whole minute to take a breath. And then there was one time where I counted a full 2 minutes, and there was still no breath. And I was like, I walked over just waiting to see if I'd like messed that up or something. And I told my uncle, I was like, I think he's gone. But I knew the minute she left the living room that he was probably going to pass. And this was before I was even into spirituality. I was not quote unquote aware of my intuition. So like, but I will tell people all the time, I saw my grandfather pass away, just saw him. And, yeah, like, but it wasn't as unexpected. So that's always just been a thing to me. It's like, how did I know like right then, like to just watch him go? It was very interesting. So
yeah, like who's making his exit. It doesn't have to be just people too. It could be pets. Like you can talk to your past loved one pets as well on the other side.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that happened with one of my dogs too. So yeah, I forget that like this has happened a lot. It's kind of heavy too. But yeah, it's sad. But I woke up minutes before getting the call about my grandma. Yeah. There's so a lot of psychics depend, and it doesn't even matter what kind, because you know we have clairvoyance, clairsentience, people that work with different clairs. Like a lot of people that have some psychic intuition, it's been historical. Like I felt this person go, or I got the call and I knew it was before I even answered the phone. I just knew. Like that happens a lot in our communities, is hearing that. So.
Oh, wow. Raquel said, stay with my grandma for 24 days at the hospital. The day I decided to sleep home, she passed. If it makes you feel a little bit better too, because that's something similar that happened with my grandfather. Like I went home to go rest, right? Sometimes they'll push you to do that. They know that it's going to be a lot for you to process. And so they'll push you to go, like, not be there for that passing, if that makes sense.
Also, and there is that, and I also, because there can be like many reasons why these happen. I feel like the energy is so like, it's why you hear a lot of people saying, hey, it's okay for you to go to people, because a lot of times a loved one, especially if you're really close, like I'm not jealous of my sister and my grandfather's relationship. It was just how it happened, and like, just how it happened. And, but like, their energy was so intertwined and just so strong that the person that's like, they're basically holding on for that person. So I feel like as her energy moved away, he was like, okay, maybe she's not around, I can go now. It's like something like that, that also happens too. So there's a lot of reasons why I feel, it'll happen sometimes when people leave a room that, and it's why you have to whisper to them, it's okay to go. It's because they're really holding on for the people around, not maybe so much for themselves. And maybe they're scared. So sometimes you have to talk to them before they pass. Like they don't know what that looks like. And so just telling them they're going to be okay and that someone's going to meet them on the other side and things like that. Yeah. If you follow like hospice TikTok nurses, dude, their stories are wild, because they are literally with people that are passing on their deathbeds, and, they just always talk about, oh, I see this person at the end of my bed, or like, oh, your uncle's here today. And like, there's no uncle here. You know, it's very, I mean, it's very, I was going to say cool, but I feel like it's more like peaceful. I like to hear it's like peaceful.
I wonder if a lot of like psychic people that don't even know that they're like really psychic, like, or gravitate towards things like that. So like you find a lot of psychics like in hospice, but maybe don't always like resonate with being called a psychic. Like they're already very like tapped and tuned in. Tangi, hopefully I say your name right. Tangi asked if we connect with past loved ones, like other people's past loved ones. So I'll let you go first, Ray, if you'd like.
Yeah, I used to do that more when I was younger. Right when I was tuning into my psychic gifts, it happened all the time. I think I slowly in my energy started to create a boundary there, because let me tell y'all something. These people, I still call them people, but these spirits will wake me up in the middle of the night with messages for my friends and family, and your girl likes to sleep, you know? So I think I have kind of tuned that part of my energy deliberately out, because they will literally wake me up at 3 a.m. And sometimes I get like, so I'm a clairvoyant, so I can see mostly with my eyes closed. I can see them with my eyes closed, but if I open my eyes, they're not there. But, yes, I actually had a lot of problems when I was like 13, when I didn't know what was happening. I think a lot of people were coming to me. It was very loud at night, in my head. And so, yeah, I think I'm tuning that out. I've decided to just let people that claim to be mediums and that can handle that energy a little bit better and know how to do that better. I've kind of left that more to them. But yeah. If somebody asks me something, they're like, "Oh, my dad passed. I wonder if you have a message for me." A lot of times, right away. A lot of times. So I'll hear the message a lot. But mostly people have to ask. I'm not walking around being like, "Oh, is your brother passed?" That's not what I like to do. I'm more of a chakra person, and I like to stick to that. But that's somebody else's specialty. But yes. What about you, Brittany?
So I don't, when I'm doing sessions with people, I don't ever hold the intention to speak with other people. Like, I only read your energy and like what you have going on with you. However, sometimes a past level will come through like so very strongly, and they're like asking me, can you please tell them this? Like, I have to tell them this. And if that's the case, and it's a very strong pull and I can hear them very clearly, because I that's another thing, like, I don't want to tell you something that I don't hear super strong. So if that's the case, I'll tell the person the message, but I don't claim to be a medium, like, in that right. Like, I can point you towards somebody if you want. But that's not how I read. It's just whenever somebody has a past level and that's very adamant about speaking to them, then I will. But other than that, we usually just stick with you. I have somebody who had a question here. Nora said, my dad passed in September. I keep seeing red-tailed hawks wherever I go. Could that be him? So that'd be a good segue into like signs.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say before we move on, the only way I really kind of consider myself medium, like I said, I can connect with people's loved ones. I think it's great that you mentioned that, setting the intention, because I also feel those of you that want to connect with your loved ones, setting the intention is like the biggest part of this. I have a candle here. Again, we're going to get into all that a little bit later. Sometimes I would suggest like setting the intention, lighting a candle, and just meditating on their voice, meditating on them. And I would be surprised if you didn't hear something or feel something. Like I said, all things are different. But before I just want to say, I do consider myself a medium, because medium actually doesn't just mean talking to spirits. It can also mean talking to spirit guides. And I'm actually very good at talking to someone's higher self. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's the only way I say I would really practice mediumship. Yeah, I do practice mediumship because I can connect and envision and communicate with people's higher selves, which I do consider to be mediumship. It's anything, a medium between you and the spirit world, and that comes in very different like layers and stuff. So,
oh, that is a beautiful definition. I love that.
Yeah.
What does that mean? One's higher self.
So the way it shows up to me, it's almost like the version of you that the only way I can kind of describe it is I do a lot of readings where people are frustrated and they're like, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? Why am I being treated like this? Why am I not going in this direction? Someone's higher self will tell me this is their path. These are the desires that they want. And this is why this is in the way of that. It's more of like the version of you that you want to embody is what I would consider like the higher self. It's the tapped in version. It's the version of you that has, like your other senses, while also, just like this deep knowing of yourself is what I would call the higher self. So there's a way that you can embody that. What do you think about that, Brittany? What is your...
Okay, so my thoughts on higher self is, so this is me and I'm going through the journey of life. I'm on the mountain. Okay. So I'm making the trek like up the mountain, which is the journey of life. And so like, I'm very immersed into that experience. Like I'm in the woods, right? So I can't always see what the next steps are going to be, or I can't see the whole plan. My higher self, though, is already at the top of the mountain and is leading and guiding me from up there and saying like, hey, you should take a left. Hey, you should take a right. Do I have to make that decision? No. Right. But they're always at that mountaintop trying to guide you and lead you through life's experiences. Like they already know everything about your life, what you contracted to do, what's going to be best for you, right? You have free will. You don't have to do what your higher self says, right? And that's how sometimes we get off course a little bit. But they're always leading and guiding you from up there. And like Ray said, there's a way that you can embody that, though, like connect with you. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do a live on higher self.
Oh, I just wrote it down. It's happening. Perfect. I was like, okay, I think we have to do a whole lecture on that. So again, me and Brittany are very connected. We already know. We're like, oh, this is going to be a whole talk. Forward to speak to me when I speak with someone who can connect with them. Do you get what Billy is saying? Am I reading that weird?
I'm sorry. Let me go up. Forward to. Are you saying, Billy, would it be easier for you to connect if you can speak with someone, like, are you saying you need a medium? Is that what you're saying? And then Good Day with our basic girl is asking how she can get a reading with you, or they can get a reading with you.
Oh, right now I'm not doing one-on-ones right now. Me and Brittany are launching our spiritual gift school in like 2 weeks ish. So, once that's launched, I'll probably open my one-on-ones back up, but.
Oh, okay. I have Billy. I have 3 loved ones pass away within the last 4 years. Is there a reason that they do not come to me? And then yes.
So just you asking that question, like I said earlier, I don't know if you were on when I said earlier, I truly believe that most of our loved ones are around, always trying to contact us. And kind of like what Brittany was saying, or they're at least around. Sometimes if you're not open to the connection, or how I was saying earlier in the live, if you're not, I've actually had to I've had to tell people, like close friends, they think that their dad is just going to stand in the living room and talk to them. Okay, for some people that happens. I would say it's very rare. A lot of psychic friends and people that have had these experiences, that's not how it shows up. Lots of times you just hear their voice. So if you're not listening for their voice, or you expect it to sound like, if you expect to hear your grandfather like you're talking to me, that may not be how the voice shows up for you. It may be a voice that's in your own thoughts, sounds like in your own voice, but it sounds like something they would have said. Like my dad, when my dad passed 6 months ago, I woke up in the morning to him just saying, "Oh, Ray, it's so nice up here." And I was like, "Okay, so is it what you thought it was?" And I think he told me that everybody in the world, like all the religions, are trying to describe the undescribable. And so to me, that wasn't something I would have said, because I've never been to heaven, and like, but it sounded like something that I wouldn't have thought. Does that make sense? So if it sounds like something you wouldn't have thought of yourself, or it's something like their advice that they would have given you in the past, just open yourself up to thinking that they're actually guiding you that morning. They're there, is how I would describe it. So that's a big thing that I always have to keep telling people. They're probably not going to show up to you in person, but be open to it. They may do that. Like, or you might be clairvoyant and see them in your mind's eye. I do that a lot in meditation. When I close my eyes and meditate, maybe I'll see my dad, maybe I'll see my grandfather, and I'll have this really full-blown vision that looks like a dream. And that's could be them visiting. It really will show up in different ways. So, oh, thank you, Rachel, or Rochelle. I appreciate that. Yeah, Brittany, would you like to chime in, kind of maybe?
Yes. And Emily, like a little comments back, if you want to get into the spiritual gift school, there's a subscriber list in both Ray and I's emails or bios, and then we'll send out emails about how to get in there. So for you, Billy, something that I have found is beneficial for people is to ask your guides, because you're already getting signs, right? Like you've already established that connection of like, when I see this, I know this person is around, whether it's red cardinals, butterflies, whatever that is, right? And so when you see that, ask out loud. I don't know where Ray went. Oh, there you are. Okay. So ask out loud, what are you trying to tell me? And wait for the internal response. And like Ray is saying, to set that intention to hear, like you hear them differently than your own internal voice, you can ask them to speak to you like they did when they were here on this plane. Like whether that's their voice, whether that's their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, like ask them to speak differently to you than your internal voice. Different personality, different persona, different inflection, whatever that means. But when you ask out loud and then you wait for the internal response, that's a good way to differentiate between what's you and what's them. Yeah. And then we can talk about too. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I wanted to address is it Kitty Cat doll, Kit Cat doll, whatever it is. It's funny. I like that name. But so what I would say to that, yes. So they're giving me this vision right now that I probably had as a child. Can't really remember it. But one thing I've realized since I am clairvoyant, I think I got really scared at a young age of connecting with loved ones, because sometimes they'll show you the way that they died to communicate with that person, so you know it's that person, which can be very scary sometimes. Sometimes people were murdered, and sometimes, like, that's getting kind of dark, but some people will block out, not to say that you were scared because your mother came to you as a mist, like, or I think it was your mom. Let me make sure. I don't want to, like, your mom came to you as a mist, but that's actually a big reason why some people won't see their loved ones, because they're afraid. And deep down, there may be this internalized fear of seeing, because you may be not just afraid, you may not be afraid to see your mom, but sometimes people might be afraid of seeing other entities as well. And that could block off that psychic ability to start to see. So that's, and I've been told that many a times. It's why I don't see as much as probably I could or should, or I'm going to have to do more meditations and or healing around that. Because I distinctly remember a little girl that I did not know coming to me, telling me to tell her parents something. And she was about my age. And I was just like scared. I was a Christian and I was 13 and sleeping. And I was just like, you got to go. And, not only that, I thought a demon was coming in my room. So this is why I still have a lot of trauma over not understanding my gift at a young age. So I've decided to just work with certain energy. And so it's just something to think about. Mm-hmm. I think signs are a really good first step when trying to connect with your loved ones. That's sometimes it's like the easiest way to introduce, like, when they're coming around you, to look for physical signs instead of thinking or feeling that you're going to hear or see them physically. What are your ideas, Brittany?
Yes. So what I would say is, for signs, is you can pick common things. Like, that's a great way to do it too. Like, every time I see yellow butterflies, I know they're around. If you want to take that to another level, like if you're already good with that, is to pick something you don't see in your everyday reality. Right? You can pick like a pink kangaroo, or like whatever it is for you that like you don't see all the time. That is a great way for you to get like a very clear indication that they're there. Right? But that's if you've been doing it for a little while too, because you don't want to like not see it and then second guess yourself. But just signs to them is a great way. Also, your clairs. Your past loved ones will also talk to you through your different clair abilities. So like Ray was saying, sometimes people just think it's like you see them outside of yourself, but that's not always the case if you don't have that ability like really strongly yet. So like maybe they're sending you scents. Like some people say, oh, I smell cigarette smoke. Like if you had a grandparent that smokes, like they're trying to let you know that they're around. Or maybe you feel them in your body, like come into your space, right? Or maybe you hear them, or maybe you see images, like Ray was saying. So the more that you research the clair psychic abilities and find out which ones you're more prevalent in, that is oftentimes how they speak to you, or how your intuition speaks to you.
Yeah. I've just seen so many people on there. So maybe we won't go, maybe we will, or maybe we won't. I'm going to leave what I was just thinking of for another thing. Maybe we could do a part 2, because there's a lot that goes into these, like how to connect with people that have passed over. And actually more so in the spiritual gift school, we can talk about like blockages, and subconscious fears maybe, but, there's a lot to talk about on the subject that I'm realizing. That's what I'm trying to say. And we only have like another 20-ish minutes. So I'm like trying to make sure so I think I want to move on to like some advice, and then, I love that we're answering questions too. So I will say this was really cool that happened with my grandfather back in like, I was 21. It's literally on my 21st birthday. I was in Colorado, drinking coffee and just like talking to my grandfather. My sister was pregnant. Okay. And everybody was sure it was a little girl. So it was, the sister that my grandfather was most connected to. And so I was like, Grandpa, I was starting to feel like I was seeing him places, or just like in my mind's eye, or just hearing him. So I was like, let me write her a letter from you for the baby, like just like where she's at in this life. And so I started writing this letter. And then as I was about to put, and we love your little girl from him, like I was going to put, we love your little girl. He made my hand stop over the laptop that I was writing this letter on. And he said, it's a boy. And I was like, No, because even my sister, she was at Christmas saying, "Oh, I love this little girl," like talking like it was a girl. And we were all girls. Okay, first of all, we had a family of 5 girls, so that's why we were pretty sure it was going to be a girl. And he just made my hand stop. She said, "No, it's a boy." We hadn't had the gender reveal yet. No one knew what it was. And my grandfather was like, "You need to give her this letter before her gender reveal, before anybody knows what it is, so that she knows it was me." And I was like, okay, but y'all, can you imagine? I was like literally just getting into spirituality. Is like, I'm going to look crazy if this is a girl and I'm telling her it's a boy. But something was just in me, is like, it's going to be a confirmation to her that like I'm around, like this was from me and that you wrote this from me. And I was like, okay. And I gave it to her. I was like, I could be wrong, but I wrote this. I really feel like Papa wanted to tell you this. And she thought I was nuts too. And 3 weeks later, it was a boy, and all she's had since are boys. So they're all boys. And so yeah, my papa was telling me to tell her that he was up there holding the baby boy, and like they danced up there before. Makes me cry. My papa loved to dance. So, and he used to dance with us all the time. So it was like really sweet.
I love that. And that's a great piece of advice too, to like do some automatic writing and try and channel them.
Yeah.
Like I want to receive messages and guidance. Like you can channel, right? That doesn't mean that they're going to take over your body. Okay.
Right.
But especially a loved one. Okay. But you can ask to channel messages from them, and maybe you voice record. Maybe you're not a journaler, and you voice record like what you imagine that they would be saying to you. And then once you get in that mode and that frequency, it's like you make kind of like a shift over, and then it starts just coming in. And so journaling, voice recording, those would be great as well. So whatever comes to your head, write it down. Yeah. And then it's like a frequency shift. It's like you, and then all of a sudden it's like you're channeling that person instead.
So a big reason why I will generally recommend journaling to a lot of my clients, right now, since Brittany and I haven't opened the spiritual gift school, I'm not specifically working with gifted people or people that are wanting to develop that. However, I have had a few readings where like a friend wants to connect with her friend. I don't know if she's here today, Dana, but anyways, never mind. But there are times where my clients want to talk with someone that's crossed over, and I do recommend journaling, and there's 2 reasons. So when you journal, there's a lot of chatter going on in our heads, because we all have issues that we're going through. We all have things that are going on, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So when you journal daily, I'm a big daily person, consistency, but when you journal daily and let go of some of these thoughts, feelings, and emotions, or give them less of a charge, what I think happens, and how like they're showing me to explain it, is like, just imagine, this is like a weird analogy, but maybe y'all will understand it better. It's like a ball pit in your head. Okay. So just imagine you have this huge ball pit in your head. And then as you journal, more and more balls get removed. So like when someone's trying to give you a message, or spirit's just trying to give you a message, there's only like a couple balls in there instead of like a bunch of balls. Like you can't distinguish what is a message from a loved one and what is a fear, or what is a worry on your to-do list and what is going on. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's how I feel.
Lori said her dad's name is Dana.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, because I don't see Dana in here, and I didn't want to like blast her, because I don't like to share personal information for my. Anyways, but yeah, there's that. So maybe that was for a reason. I don't really like to say that kind of information about clients. So anyways, so that's what I would say. It kind of clears out your body, mind, so you're at a calmer space in order to hear messages. And sometimes when you're in survival mode, you're not processing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Their voices get drowned out. Maybe they're trying to give you wisdom. They're trying to say some things, and they can't, because you're like, no, but I got to do it this way. And you're more on that track of mind. You can't get the other messages from, I say loved ones and spirit guides, but we're talking about loved ones right now. So
speaking of spirit guides, so I just had the tree spirits come in, and they wanted to give a message to people.
Nice.
So trees are they're very old, wise beings, and they're connected into the heart of Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. And so if you are wanting to like ground in further and help with like your channeling gifts or amplification of anything, if you want to connect with a past loved one, sit underneath a tree, like put your back up to a tree and put your bare feet on the earth and ask the trees and Mother Gaia to help you connect with your past loved ones. And that is a great amplifier. Like trees want you to have that divine guidance and wisdom because it helps you ascend, it helps you heal. And so they're going to help assist you with that. So yes, I love connecting to trees. Trees are amazing. So you can also ask Mother Gaia. That's one of the guides I had, Mother Gaia, not Earth, but like the consciousness form of Mother Gaia, Pachamama, if you will. Ask her to come in and help you connect with them because we're all her. Like we're all beings of her. We're all her children. And so she will help you connect the etheric cords to them on a deeper level as well.
Yeah. I love that, Brittany. Yeah, I actually, after my grandfather passed, I was obsessed with trees. And I also just used to sit by trees. And I've actually heard trees talk to me. And different things like that. So that's so cool that you brought them up. I love those. I love the trees.
Yeah, they're here.
So actually, and whenever Brittany was talking about doing automatic writing, so this is like a really good practice you can try. It's very simple as well. You could just write down your question on the top of a sheet of paper, like what you would want them. Like if you're wondering if you should break up with somebody, is like, you know, Annie, I don't know, Annie, like your friend that had passed away. What would you say, Annie, right now about me dating this guy? And she'd be like, girl, he's on some bullshit. You know what I mean? Like you would probably start to hear their voice. So I started to curse and stuff, but like how they would talk, like open yourself up to hearing how they would talk and just write what you would think they were saying as you're sitting right there. I know, sorry guys. But there might be somebody on this live and their person talks like that. Like, man, this person is just like, you know, I used to have this lady's not passed away, but she used to tell me, don't mess with hairy leg boys. Like that's very specific. So I only say that.
What
she said, hairy leg boys, y'all. I literally, but this is specific. This person's not passed away, but if you are trying to connect with your loved one, if there was a loved one that used to call certain people, like, I don't know, what would you say about this hairy leg boy? Then that would probably start just something specific to what they would used to say, y'all. Like, it would probably start the stream of consciousness of more of their conversation, like what you think they would say. I also listened to, and if y'all want to listen to this podcast recently, it's Super Soul Sunday with Elizabeth Gilbert and Oprah. And
I love
for those
Elizabeth
of you,
Gilbert.
so
I'm gonna listen to that too.
If you listen to it, like no question in my mind, Elizabeth Gilbert has clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairgustance, claircognizance, all of these things, because she actually talks about it in this interview. And Oprah's like, that's some woo-woo stuff. And Elizabeth's like, I don't care what it is. It makes me feel good, is what she would say. And so her partner, Raya, passed a few years ago from pancreatic cancer. And she would hear Raya talking to her. Elizabeth Gilbert. So Super Soul Sunday, Elizabeth Gilbert, it's actually really high on the episode list because it's a repost. And I listened to it years ago when it first came out, and I listened to it again. But I love it every time. And she could hear Raya talking like Raya in her head. So these are things that I think whenever loved ones pass away, we actually somewhat, thank you for posting that.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys. So this is something that I feel people, we let it get in our heads that they're really gone, which because it's honest, it's easy to feel that way because we don't see them physically. But my dad, it's interesting. It's interesting when his voice comes through. My dad passed away. He had mouth cancer, so he had a lisp. When he passed away, I don't remember his voice without the lisp because it had been like that for a while. So it's interesting to hear him in my voice, but that's how I distinguish his voice now. Had it been like a regular kind of voice, my loved ones, I don't hear them as well as I do with my dad with the lisp. So just kind of think of that too. It's sad sometimes, but honestly, I don't feel like my dad's gone. I just kind of get sad. I don't know. It's interesting, y'all. But write down a question, what you want to hear from the loved one, and just write it at the top of the paper. And then if you don't get an answer that day, try it again the next day. Try it again the next day. If you want to see them in a dream, this is a good one. If you want to see them in a dream, say, hey, Dad, what would you tell me about this situation? Write it right before bed and see if a dream comes, like, and do that for a few times. If it doesn't happen the first night, do it a few nights to see if they come in your dream. I would love to hear if they did, because I'm almost like 92% sure it'll happen. That's how sure I am.
And thank you for everybody being like so vulnerable in the chat as well, because like you talking about those things also like lets other people know they're going through these experiences, and like there's other people that can support you too, and like you can connect with one another as well, and like talk about your experiences or join our Facebook group and talk about them in there too. I get the sad feeling thinking about my dad. I'm gonna try your suggestion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I know that they're there and that they're not on this physical plane, but you can still speak with them. Like, and that helps with the passing as well.
Yeah. My dad has actually come to my sister, and my sister's not very spiritual, but she'll, so yeah, my dad's been visiting her in dreams, and they're very powerful messages. And she'll ask, my family isn't spiritual, but I'll tell y'all, I went to a birthday party yesterday, and I had to do like 5 dream interpretations. Okay. It's like going rampant in my life right now. They're like, Ray, what's this dream? Like, this question comes to me constantly because I'm a dream interpreter. I'm wondering if that just needs to be my thing, because that's so many, but pay attention to the dreams you see them into. It could be it could be a message. Also, when they come to you in dreams, it could be representative of like something that you're going through as well. And it may not be a visitation. Usually you'll know. Yeah, we can go on. That's another day. Let's write that down. That's a whole other story.
I know you have to go in just a second. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about? I have some like crystals here, or we could chat about whatever else beforehand. Do you have any other ways to remember your dreams? I have huge trouble remembering mine. I know that setting the intention to remember your dreams and then writing them down as soon as you wake up, that definitely helps. Like Ray was talking about journaling, but setting the intention and saying out loud, like, I intend to remember my dreams. Like, I want to know what is going on in the astral plane, right? Like, those are things that can help as well.
Okay, I'm going to have to write this down too. We want to do... Yeah, okay, I just write that down. Okay. Can you tell me what the broom came to me in a dream? Okay, y'all, we'll have to do a whole nother live on dreams, just because I only have like a few minutes left, because like I will really go down some rabbit holes and I will not make it to my meeting. Because I love dreams so much. But we'll do a dream one soon. My main thing, I just kind of want to re-say it, that I find if you want to connect with a loved one, light a candle. I like white candles. Like, could be for a reason, could not be. I think white or blue candles to connect with loved ones. Also, doesn't have to be. It's just a suggestion, okay? Let's be very specific about that. But I like white candles and blue candles when I'm trying to connect with the spirit realm and or a past loved one. But it's fine if you don't have it. And you can I suggest lighting a candle. I have heard, and I like the way it feels when a candle is lit and I'm doing readings. Supposedly, the spirits gravitate to the candle. Like, I don't know a lot of, like, obviously a lot of this isn't science-based or anything, but I set the candle, and that's almost like my invitation. So if you have your own way of wanting to do that, a way that you could either light a candle, you could light your sage, you could light the incense, and the candle is as much about inviting the spirits in as much as it is opening up your perception awareness, okay? So it's a signal for both. Like, hey, spirit guides, when I light this candle, this means I want to talk to my loved ones, or hey, spirit guides, when I light this incense, or do this, or I say this opening prayer. It's just as much to open you up as it is to invite them. Does that make sense, y'all? Mm-hmm. So I would do that when either meditating on a person or doing the journaling while talking to them. So you could do both. You can try which one resonates with you the most. That's like intro into connecting with loved ones, I find that would be the best way. Light the candle, set the intention, do a meditation on them, or light a candle, write a question down, and just literally, like someone said earlier, write down any thoughts and feelings that you have. And the reason I say that is it's to get all the thoughts and feelings out that you are having, and then you might hear something from them sporadically, but literally do a stream of consciousness when you're first doing this to start to connect. And eventually it might just be stream of consciousness, like channeling their messages. But I would just like write down anything. And I'm telling you anything, like I need to do laundry today and this and this and this is happening. And then all of a sudden maybe a message will pop in through from them. Does that make like, that's how I do it. Especially
I've got like 2 things right before you pop out before we leave. Just real quick. Okay, so sometimes if you're trying to connect with guides or you're trying to connect with loved ones, taking a guide in with you can help you. Like they are amplifiers, right? And so I've got a couple here that you can call on to ask you with that journey. And so the first one, and if you want to screenshot this, you can, or I don't know if Ray wants her face screenshotted, but but this will be a replay on our Facebook group and on our YouTube. So if you want that, it'll be there. So this is White Eagle. So White Eagle has a lot of earth energy, and he can come in and help you tap in not only with like past loved ones, but also ancestors, like further back into your generations. Okay, so White Eagle. And then we have Horus. Horus is great. He is a gatekeeper of the etheric realms, the astral realms. He's an amplifier of your psychic spiritual gifts, and he's great for protecting you when you're in those realms as well. Okay, and then the next one, we have Mother Mary. She is beautiful for lighting the way to past loved ones. Like that is one of her specialties. And so she can definitely help you with that as well. Okay. This is my Keepers of the Light deck. Keepers of the Light deck. And it has all different spiritual beings, teachers, ascended masters, gurus. So crystals. I am a crystal person. Crystals are great amplifiers, and they do specific things. They hold specific frequencies, but if you pour your intentions into them as well when you're working with them, it boosts it. Okay, so any type of quartz is going to be great. This is angel ore quartz. You can literally hold them in your hands while you're trying to connect, and it will help you connect in the etheric. So angel ore quartz is great. Blue apatite. Blue apatite helps you with your vision and like hearing more clearly with your psychic abilities. Then you have rose quartz. This is beautiful because it's a love crystal. It helps amplify those feelings of unconditional love and connection to your loved ones. And then amethyst. This is my favorite. Amethyst is a soothing crystal. So if you experience a little of anxiety about connecting to beings or even past loved one, like Ray was saying earlier, it will help ease your mind on those things. But it's also an amplifier and helps you with your spiritual and psychic gifts. So those are the 4 that I highly recommend for past loved ones. So yes.
Awesome.
And then the replay will be up on our Facebook group if you would like to join that as well.
Yeah, and if y'all really enjoyed this chat, both Brittany and I, we do co-lives on TikTok. If we could do them on Facebook, we may have done them. But we do lives every week in the Facebook group. This week, I guess it's Brittany's turn. Last week, I did one on spiritual practices, and then Brittany's done one on like what's been some of yours?
I did how to work through imposter syndrome. And then I did one where it was like kind of like a mixed bag of me talking about different things, like crystals and like just a whole bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
Tomorrow or Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about empaths and boundaries and shielding and clearing and like why that's important and how to do those things.
Awesome. Yeah. So if y'all are interested in that, we also answer questions in there. People ask about dreams, or they ask about feelings they're having or experiencing they have, or they just share. They may not even ask questions. They're like, hey, this happened to me today. I saw this in my vision, or like I meditated and this happened. Like we're getting a lot of good feedback in there. It's been told to us that it's a candy land for spiritual things. So yeah. So just keep that in mind. And yes. Yeah, we should probably, or maybe we should rename it to Spiritual Candyland, something like that. Who knows?
Oh, it's blue apatite. Blue apatite, if you were asking. But yeah, Spiritual Candyland, like that would be a good name or
That'd be
tagline.
interesting. Or maybe we can make a t-shirt. Maybe we could do a t-shirt
That'd
on
be cute.
it. That'd be fun.
I would
Love
like
it.
that.
Y'all, this conversation was so fun. Really could have. Oh, it was you. Oh, that's cool that you're here today. I love it. I've been mentioning that to people. I was like, oh, it's such a cool way to experience it. This was really fun. It obviously was way too short, but we can do a part 2. There's a lot of notes I took down here to expound on things. I think today was mostly about giving you a practice or ways to connect. And I think we accomplished that. I think, you know, we don't have to overload y'all with information. Just try those 2 things and then let us know if it worked. Or if you had any issues. We're trying our best in the journey to awakening to help people figure out which ways they connect the most to to their intuition. And so I think whenever you do that, if you smell more, maybe you connect with smelling. I'm sorry, I'm like talking. There's like a lot of clouds here.
Okay.
But I'm about to have to go. Brittany, do you want to stay on a little bit longer and answer questions, or do you have to go too?
Yeah, I'm probably going to get off, but White Eagle is the one that you were asking about. And then again, all of this will be on a replay if you want to watch it, if you have questions or you weren't here at the beginning.
Which should also be in Brittany's YouTube, I believe.
Yep. I'll put it on there, Soulharmonyhealing. If you want to donate to the Spiritual Gift School, please feel free. There's links in our bios, and we would love to have you in the Facebook group. And if you're interested in the school, subscribe in our bios, and we're going to start sending emails about that, how to get into the school. Yes.
Thank you, Mitzi. That's sweet. Awesome. Yeah, this was great. Thank you, guys. It was such a great conversation, and thank y'all for being a part of it. Y'all are also such a big part of it. Your questions and everything helps make the conversation even better. So while Brittany and I here are doing the work, like on this end, y'all are doing work as well, just showing up and asking questions and things like that. So we really appreciate y'all too.
Yes, thank you. Helping us grow as teachers too.
Yes, a lot. So,
thank you.
So welcome.
All right, everybody.
All right, guys. We'll see those of you that are in the group. We'll see y'all soon. And yeah, join us. All right. Bye, guys.